So toxic is actually their normal. So they don't know how else to get out of toxic. Then I also want to say that sometimes the reaction we get from, like you taught us about how you are and how people perceive you. So we may be looking for the toxic people, but everywhere in church, they say you are somehow. In school, you are somehow. At work, you are somehow. So actually, when should you begin to know that you are really somehow? So that it's not like, oh, they don't like me everywhere.
This person has been manipulated over time to the extent that one of the things that happen is that they blame themselves for other people's behaviors. So they feel grateful that they are even accepted. And normally what this person can do, like we said, in managing this kind of relationship is to sever it. Honestly speaking, sever that relationship from the source of the toxicity, and that toxic environment will cease to take hold. It's the way it is. We have people that are naturally very low on trust, very low trust content. And because they have very low trust content, the ability to accept is very poor. They easily fall into this category. So they easily suspect. Even good motives are put under suspicion. So wherever they go, there's an enemy within. Wherever they go, no matter your intention, somebody is trying to destroy. And as a result of that, they go defensive. Defensive because more often than not, they have been pushed to believing that they are not good enough in one way or the other. And instead of trying to come out of it, they try to, how would I say? Number one, suspect everybody that comes, and that's how they think about them. Then number two, actually seek out for whoever is going to see them, in that light. And wherever they go, they keep repeating that same behavior. Actually, at a point, those people also need help, because those are mentally very sick people. Their mental health condition is quite of concern.
I think it's best to run away from, avoid such people. I'll give you an instance of someone. First of all, I was going to say that, we might be here and then they're talking to us and telling us about toxic people. And some people are like, yes, do you know such people? Yes, I know them. You might just be one of them, So we just do this thing that we just deflect. We deflect. It's like, oh, it's not me they are talking to. It's another person. So it's another person. So it's always easy to point and say it's the other person that has the problem, not you, right? So we need to check that as well. So also speaking to myself.
Would you say I need to see a doctor after listening to what I have to share? I've had to work with crazy, toxic people. I even lived with them. And I got to a stage that people always come to me, even colleagues, like, how do you manage to deal with so and so person? Like, we can't tolerate it, but you are fine.
No, you do not see a doctor for being emotionally intelligent. What you are exercising, okay, you used an illustration, that's why it didn't strike as a question. So if you have very toxic bosses and people keep marveling how you work with such people, or even colleagues, even subordinates can be toxic to the extent that they make life miserable for their bosses. How do you manage such people? The moment you are able to know yourself, control yourself, know who they are, and control them for who they are, you have finished them. That's called emotional intelligence. So you don't need a doctor for that.
You mentioned something about micromanaging earlier, but I'm not sure whether you mentioned it, maybe I was just not paying attention, but I would like you to sort of walk us through how you deal with a boss that is actually cannot just do anything but to micromanage you, no matter what you do.
Rule number 1 to rule number 5 when it comes to bosses are the same. Manage your boss. You must know who your boss is and manage your boss along that line.
what if in a situation that you always find yourself being with toxic people? How do you do? Like, you try as much as possible to avoid them, but it seems like if you avoid this particular person, the next person, you still see that the person is toxic. Is it you that's the problem or the person?
So, oftentimes in life, let me say, for example, women. There are women that even in their 40s, the people that keep chasing them are boys in their 20s. Yeah. It's what they send out. So, you attract what you send out, the vibes you send out. So a lot of times you can send out vibes that attracts toxicity. So it's not as if you're addicted, or some people think because, like Pastor asked originally, you find yourself repeatedly having toxic people approach you until you think all the people available are all toxic. And therefore it's a choice between toxic people. And it now looks like you live inside toxicity. Are we hearing me? You are the one sending out the toxic signals.
What if that toxic person is a family member? And definitely you can't. How do you manage it?
People in the family, you can engage. That's what we said. Discuss. So there are those ones you don't have option of severance. So if the toxic, we were talking about toxic friends there. You'll be surprised that in the family is not everybody in the family is your friend. Or you love them, but they're not necessarily friends, okay? So in the family setting, there is need for a direct conversation with a view to causing adjustments so that you can accommodate yourselves. There are rules for managing, at the end of those slides, time did not permit us, where we have the do's and the don'ts, and so by the time you go through those ones, I assure you, it's in very simple English, you'll see how to manage such situation, even in the family.
If you have a friend and you don't know how to, how do I put it? You don't know how to communicate to the friend when the person offends you. You are this kind of person that you don't know how to communicate your emotions properly. If someone offends you, you don't know how to communicate. Does that mean you are toxic?
No, you are not toxic, but you're not doing yourself any good. You're not even doing that person any good. So one of the things and if you have, time did not permit me to go into that. In dealing with toxic relationships, are you with me? Please do not, and I'm repeating, do not send text messages. Don't end a toxic relationship with a text message. If you cannot meet the worst that should happen, write it with your handwriting. If you're in doubt of your English, express it to somebody, a friend that is very good, to put it correctly for you. Or if the person knows you that your English capacity is not good enough and has accepted that, communicate that way. But the best way, speak eye to eye and tell the person no. Thank you. Nice while it lasted. We will hurt ourselves if we continue in this. Let's draw the line. So I think I should make that clear.
I've experienced a toxic relationship a lot through my friends. It's to the extent that whenever I see people, this feeling of trust, including families, I don't trust anybody. To myself, if I do something, I don't like, am I doing? I don't even trust anybody. To my parents, that I don't any small thing, I don't trust anybody, and it's affecting me. I mean, I know myself that it's affecting me. Sometimes I need someone to talk to. That when something happens, I need someone that I can talk to. But due to what I've experienced before, I won't be able to say a dime. Even though I have courage, I've come to better, I want to say something. Looking at the person's face, I won't be able to see anything. It really affects me that emotionally, I don't bother thinking of. When someone talk, I don't bother feel emotions. Mentally, I feel drained. I don't just feel myself anymore. What can I do in that situation?
That situation needs professional help. If it is so bad that you can't trust family, I was now afraid when she now said she can't even trust herself. So she cannot trust her choices. I think that is the most transparent and honest presentation of a person that needs help. And at that level, even in church here, we have a very hardcore professional, that, can have a chat with you on something like that. We do have. If there's need for that, Pastor Keji can make you have a session and you can talk, because you have no business suffering that, especially at your age. And like Pastor Keji also said, what that session will help you do is to find out if the fault is in those people or is in you. Because everywhere you go, the person is toxic. Family, they are toxic. Friends, they are toxic. School, they are toxic. Even this community here, you can't trust anybody. So when it gets to that, you need to find out, could it be you that the problem is? And it's not a condemnation, it's just a correction, that needs to be done so that you have a happy life. You need to be happy. For example, if it is you, because you may have been using this to explain another person, you have not told us. If it is you, you're just too pretty, too beautiful for that to happen. You see?
I work in a place where I was given multiple subjects to take, and at one point I had to go outside my field of study. So at one point I felt tired. I don't know, being overwhelmed, is it, because I don't want to be sure that I'm not that kind of person. So I don't know, like you giving a task that is not, like, that doesn't suit in with who you are, like your qualification, but you just have to deliver. And at one point you get tired and you have to just find a way to part ways, but there is a restriction. Your boss feeling like you are going, you are a bad person. Now, does that mean, am I actually bad?
If your role is so overwhelming, do you know what he means? If what they give you to do is such that it gets to a point you're just, it passed me. Maybe they thought I know so much, but I don't know. And because of that, somebody asks you, if you do 2 to power 4 minus x bracket y minus, and tells you to come up with answer just because you said you know maths. Meanwhile, your own maths ends at 5 plus 6 minus 4. So this person gives you square root into some high integers and all of that, and you sit down like this and say, no problem. Shebi, if I stand up now and submit this paper, they say I don't know anything. So what he decides to do, he picks his pen and begins to write. In Cyprian sequences, things fall apart. The story was about Okonkwo, and he will even call for extra paper and write literature in a maths class. Yes, that's what he's saying. That if he does that, because that's actually what he was saying. If he does that, does it mean he's toxic? I wouldn't call that toxic. I won't call that toxic. But somebody's actually trying to drive you insane. because what he's saying is that as a result of the work overload and the overwhelming situation, he now finds himself fleeing the job and being busy, being nice to other people and supporting them in doing their job. How far? You don't finish, that one has finished. And you go, oh God, my own. I think it's something like that you're talking about. So it ends up being Mr. Congenial. Everybody loves him. But his work is there. Suffering. No. You are In terms of toxicity, yes, you are. Certainly. That behavior is toxic. It's toxic to the extent that the beauty is you're aware, and you can deal with it, which is very beautiful. Most toxic people don't realize that. You may not even have realized it until this class. So once you know it, you can deal with it. You can take it up, have a conversation around the overwhelming aspects. And if it is something within your capacity that is suffering procrastination, kill procrastination, because that's what brings overwhelming pressure, at the end of the day. You'll get it right. But the behavior is certainly toxic. Thank you.
Understands that people have different personalities and they'll accept you for yourself. So for a long time, I believe this statement has also been a license for some of us to actually keep behaving in a very stupid and funny way, and assuming that people will always, or people that like you are mandated to accept you for who you are. Oh, I'm an angry person, you should accept me the way I am. So what is the difference, and where is the line between accepting who you are and actually you working on yourself so that you are a better person? Because a lot of people mistake this and they said, if you can't accept me for who I am, that means you are not my friend, and then they keep breeding this bad behavior. So I just need you to help us with that, sir. Thank you, sir.
People should accept you for who you are. If they try to change you, especially if that change is not what you want, then that's manipulation, and that is toxic. There is a provision for the person. Leave you alone. You must not be friends. Don't forget, we're talking about friendship. You must not be friends to work together. You must not be friends even to be brother and sister. You must not be friends to love each other. Don't forget, God didn't say love your friends. Do you understand? You must not be friends under the definition of friendship. So, you end the friendship so that you get space. You don't, for example, how would I say? Like, what's your name, my son? Huh? Precious. Precious is non-confrontational. So, Precious is coming to church, is wearing white and white, like he used to like wearing sometimes. And then somebody very carelessly plods into a puddle of dirty water near that gate on his clothes. And he turns and you can see he's very upset. And he looks at the guy and breathes 3 times and turns and walks back to church. And someone else, in as much as is not expecting Precious to fight, will expect him to have at least told that person, didn't you have eyes? At least to extract, I am sorry. So he now goes to Precious and tells Precious, you're the type encouraging people to be pouring dirty water on people. Do you understand? The toxic person is the person telling Precious that you're trying to change him. Whereas there are others here, like the Homers, for example. The water has not even landed on his clothes. If care is not taken, you have had a slap. You understand? Or you can have the likes of, that is if they are not in Christ. You have the likes of the creative convertibles that will, you pour me water by yourself. He will just leave you and smile and organize with one mechanic there to just come and splash grease on you. Grease everywhere. And you come and say, oh, but how far? So everybody is different. If he does any of those two, he won't sleep. So don't try to change him. Because when you go back, you will sleep. He cannot sleep. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, thank you.
Among your group of friends, you examine the character among your friends. You're like, did you observe so thing about this person? But it's funny, like, let's among friends of 10, 2 persons says they observed it, but the remaining 7 said they didn't really observe it. So in a situation, what do you do in that kind of situation?
Not a casual question, because it presents a big challenge, especially in gatherings like church. Hello? And if the church happens to be the likes of Redeem, the case is worse. And why that is so is because foundationally, Redeem comes from southwestern Nigeria, which has a kingdom culture. And kingdom cultures, there's something called Albin. It's actually on one of the slides, but I took it off because it's not related to you. Response to Albin complex is a syndrome, Albin syndrome, where all of us here will see very well that the color of this screen is what? The color of this one is what? Purple. And I'll say that God forbid that this church will lie against itself. We have a color in the Life Center and it is purple. And except something goes wrong, God forbid, nothing can go wrong in God's house. What? This color purple here, can I have a resounding amen to this purple? Is this purple? And everybody will say, purple, amen. But it's green. So it happens a lot that scenario can play out. The 8 people are saying it under either the influence of obedience, in quotes. If that happens, the 2 people that are speaking the truth is not that they are, what do you call? When somebody is in sociology, I've forgotten. No, they are not toxic in using your language. They are not. They're just telling the truth. While the majority are simply telling lies. The problem now is, why did they tell the lie? So in that one, it could be an institutional toxicity. That the toxicity is because it is expected that they should say what they have been told to say. So if your question now is, if you're told to lie and you speak the truth where lies are expected, are you toxic? Then the answer will be no, you're not. Now, but if on the other hand, truly speaking, there was nothing wrong with that person, and 8 people have said there's nothing wrong with that person, but you, with the support of one other person, see that there's something wrong with that person, there's a very high likelihood that you may have to relook at your inner self. Yes, because that is where, I don't know if the word toxic is what I want to use in this case, but I think it contains a bit of that. 8 people, that's 80%, are saying this is a clean guy. But 20%, being you and one other person, are saying there's something wrong with this person. Ordinarily in statistics, something is wrong with the 2 of you. However, you know, everybody saying the wrong thing is right doesn't make the wrong thing right. So it's very subjective, sir. There's no clear-cut answer to your question. Do you understand me? It depends on what is behind it. Yeah. Thank you.